What's your favorite Thanksgiving food? Comment below your favorite Thanksgiving food. What's yours?
The lasagna.
Oh my God.
I got to tell you, I like turkey. I eat turkey. It's fine. I like stuffing. It's fine. I don't sit there and go, wow. Like,
so Italian. It's so Italian.
Honestly,
Mike's blood is 98% olive oil.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus Podcast, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates from home. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the podcast, as well as share. We always appreciate it. All right, gentlemen, we're all back together. The Bills are done with the bye. We were in Orchard Park on Wednesday. And Mike, this team getting ready for a Niners team that I think looks a little bit different than people were expecting going in. But let's first talk about where this Buffalo team is at.
They're feeling pretty good. And I think the bye came at a perfect time for them. It's funny, though, when you think back to last year, they get to that bye after that terrible loss to the Eagles, and then they got to go to Kansas City and all the mess that happened. But then they proceed to go on a streak, right? Because that's what the Bills do when no one expects it. Now they're sort of oddly, Dan, they're like, it's good. There isn't panic anywhere. The last few years, there's been always something extra going on. It's a little strange for this team to have everything going really well and the bye and getting guys healthy all at the same time.
Doesn't it feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? Like you're waiting to be like, wait.
Gosh, no, that's terrible.
Yeah, but it does.
But Mike said it, like all the fact of you have all of these things lining up. Like Sean's been asked before the bye, during the bye, and now after the bye, if this bye came at a perfect time. And I loved his joke before the bye being like, well, I love our buys to come off of wins because that's the most important thing. But the fact of the injuries that this team has had to deal with, the way they have kind of seemed to be the perfect time to have the bye with Milano and ramping things up and Keon and Kincaid, like all of those things, like they didn't have to rush guys back because you had this late bye, I think is the perfect mix because Mike has said before, there usually seems to be a whole lot going around this team during a bye. Last year it was the change in coordinator, those kind of things, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and Von Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
In a trip to Kansas City to play.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were at 500 and desperate for a win, now they have to still take a mindset of, I don't say desperate to win because every week you have to win if you follow what we're saying. But they do have a lot to play for. They have the division. They are in great shape for the minimum of the 2 seed, right? All those things. They know that. Doesn't mean they don't attempt to keep winning, but you are on the tail of the Chiefs and you have the tiebreaker and the 1 seed is important. So there's no reason for a let up, especially with this stretch of games that they have. Niners, desperate. Then you go on the road to a Rams team that while they're struggling in some ways, they're in the middle of a tight division race. Oh, and then you have the Detroit Lions.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not a time to settle back.
Jenna, I thought it was funny when Sean was asked about locking up the division, possibly this week, with the Dolphins' loss on Thursday and a win for the Bills, they would clinch the 1 seed. And Jenna, I thought his answer was very interesting, and you can put a penny in the jar whenever we get back to that. Because, Jenna, how about his answer being like, because I'm sitting at home watching it, still on baby watch, where she went back to the doctors today. We are stuck at 4 centimeters dilated. She is a trooper. We are still waiting.
You're trusting the process.
Yes.
We're losing some faith at it just because we're at our wits' end.
That's a part of the process.
Yeah. But Jenna, I was sitting at home watching the McDermott, and he said twice, we're mostly focused on this week and playing to our level. That's what we're mostly focused on, which I thought was very, because I didn't want to tweet it as like a clickbait tweet, but he did say it twice of like, we're mostly concerned about just, handling our business this week and playing to our level. That's what we're mostly focused on. Like they always talk about the division, right, Jenna? And like, it is right there. And I thought it was telling for Sean to be like, yeah, That'd be nice.
I think it was some acknowledgement of like, yeah, of course it's the division. Of course they're going to be watching on Thursday for Thanksgiving to see what happens. But also it is, okay, there is still the task ahead. And even if with locking up the division, if that ends up being the case, there obviously is still more for this team to accomplish and more that they can accomplish with what's ahead of them. But I did think being in Orchard Park today, you just saw, I'm always curious, like what the vibe is in the building. Like, what are we going to be walking into after a loss? Usually it feels different. Sometimes after a big win, it feels different. And today, the thing I really noticed was just how many players stayed after practice, how many guys were getting an extra reps, just how many players in general were kind of still in the practice facility area, talking with one another, going over things. And you don't always see that, especially with a long season. So I thought that was a little bit encouraging because I think with where this team is at, realistically, you have a Niners team coming in that's very beaten up. I could see in a certain mindset being like, okay, like we're a good team. We got this. But I was impressed to see, okay, the players are really, dialing it back in and kind of getting ready for the week ahead. Because I know for me, I might be like, it's also why I'm not one of the many reasons I'm not an NFL player, but it just reminded me of McDermott being very good, especially after a bye as well.
Yeah. And they also, had the time off. So there's a tendency to be like, okay, we got to get everything straight.
McDermott was so funny talking about the bye.
Oh, I know, with his clothes.
Yeah.
Routine more than anything. I mean, even the bye week is, for me at least, I love the bye week. Like, anyone does, everyone does, but sometimes I'm like, I don't really, I guess I have it. Usually I'm in a gray shirt and Bill's sweatpants. And so when I'm not wearing those, I kind of go in my closet. I'm like, I don't know what to wear. I'm kind of like not myself. So I told some of the guys this morning, I said, it's good to be back in, my gray T-shirt and my Bill sweats. So that's getting a little personal too.
I love that. That was very funny.
Dan, it's Sean making jokes for a game in December.
This is off-season Sean in the middle of the season. This was a very rare thing to see. And he even was like, what am I wearing today? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm used to this. I go in my closet. I didn't know what to wear this week. I thought it was a perfect moment to encompass that.
How many different gray Bills T-shirts do you think Sean McDermott has?
He did have that different color jacket on for practice.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got the big sunglasses.
Yeah. He's got the looks.
Yeah.
When he doesn't have the hat on. By the way, I was thinking about this. I know they slightly adjust the schedule Thanksgiving week, give the players a little bit of different time. What's Sean like for Thanksgiving dinner?
I don't know. I wanted to ask all the players because obviously this is where my focus is like what is your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Right.
Was asking a little bit in the media room.
What side dish are you?
No, not that.
Yeah, you got to watch how you ask that.
Just what's your favorite Thanksgiving food? Comment below your favorite Thanksgiving food. What's yours?
The lasagna.
Oh my God.
I got to tell you, I like turkey. I eat turkey. It's fine. I like stuffing. It's fine. I don't sit there and go, wow. Like,
so Italian. It's so Italian.
Honestly, lasagna is like my least favorite Italian food. It's just what a lot of people make on Thanksgiving. I got to tell you, I don't like cranberry sauce. Turkey is good. I don't sit there and go, oh my God, this is like the greatest meal. No,
Mike's blood is 98% olive oil.
And yeah, it's funny. Like I said, I threw lasagna out there because people will make it. I don't really like lasagna that much either. There's way more pastas I would take. Aren't we a little like overdone with the whole turkey thing? Like it's the greatest meal you've ever had.
I love Thanksgiving. I'm a big fan of Thanksgiving meal.
What do you like? You like the desserts?
No, well, yeah, obviously, but this might be controversial. Gravy.
Yeah, I like gravy.
I love gravy. It is the straw that stirs the drink. It makes everything better. And you only have gravy on special occasions. In my family.
We just had mashed potatoes the other night, and I was like, you know what? I like these.
Yeah.
We don't have them that often.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily order them when I'm out, and I'm like, maybe I do. So mashed potatoes, stuffing, turkey's fine. Throw the gravy on top.
The gravy.
Kind of like it the next day a little bit better.
Gravy is amazing. Dan, what do you like?
But gravy covers up how mediocre turkey is. I'm also sorry for my camera. So I'm going off the iPhone and it's like tracking me. It is all over the place. I'm trying to sit as
over here.
I'm trying to sit as still as possible, and my iPhone camera will just
Now,
refuses to follow me.
I just want it on the record. If that was me, I would get an old joke here.
Okay.
Mike doesn't need to know how to set up his camera, and Dan's camera is following him like it's the CIA. Look at him.
It would actually make us seasick if it was you, because you do move a lot. Okay, Dan, your favorite Thanksgiving food before we go back to Bill.
Renee makes a sweet potato casserole that's really good. And I never grew up on sweet potatoes. So like marshmallows, or it's not the marshmallows, but it's the brown sugar with like the crumble on top.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that
Now
sounds
we're getting a little bit better.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, let's go back to the
I
Bills.
wanted to know what Sean McDermott's favorite food is. Is it the raisin bran he has for
Oh my
breakfast?
god. Do you think he eats Thanksgiving dinner?
Yes. I think they have a Thanksgiving dinner as a
He
family.
likes, I don't know. What is like the
He has
most
raisin brand.
Breakfast, yes. And then eventually, he has, what, a cookie, a dessert?
Yeah, probably. He has like one slice of pumpkin pie.
That's it.
Okay.
Then he wrestles all the relatives.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, back to the Bills.
Yes.
They're in a good spot.
Yeah.
And this weekend, what do you expect to see from this matchup?
You know, what's funny is you think about all the injuries, and we have the interview with Greg Papa, who's the play-by-play guy of the Niners, and we talked about all the injuries. And then you sit there and you think to yourself, this team is so loaded with talent, name talent too. And they've had, everybody talks about injuries and how tough it is on a team. When you look at what this team has had, I mean, you're talking about McCaffrey was hurt, and Trent Williams was hurt, and the quarterback was hurt, and Dre Greenlaw was hurt, and Bosa's hurt. Now we're recording this late on Wednesday, and Bosa didn't practice, and Trent Williams did, and it's like they have lost. Oh, and they lost Brandon Ayuk for the season, like an immense amount of injuries, but they still have CMAC, and they've got
CMC.
And they also, they still have Debo, right? And Purdy will probably play. Like, they still have a lot of talent on this team. They should be angry. They should be playing like an angry team. I do have a thought that they could come into this game because they've played so many games and been to the NFC Championship and lost a tough Super Bowl. It has worn on them. And I don't know if this game isn't just the tipping point of, if it doesn't go well, even though they're still in the race, they just can't muster it up. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's the total opposite. And they all just say, we're done with playing mediocre football, because they got blown out last week with a lot of guys off the field. So they could be extremely dangerous or 1 foot away from getting shoved over the cliff.
I could definitely see that. Dan, Brock Purdy on Wednesday was a limited participant in practice, but I'm seeing reports that he did not throw the ball at all. And we asked the Bills like this week just about how do you prepare for a team when you don't really know who's going to be in the lineup. And they're like, well, it's a system thing. And so for me, and I don't know how you feel about it, Dan, but it just felt like the Bills are like, it doesn't matter who's out there. We have a plan regardless.
Yeah, that's the right thing to say in the media. But as we've seen before, the Dolphins have a good system, and it's not the same without Tua and things like that. Mike, to your point, I have been waiting for this Niners team, just like everybody else has, to become the Niners team that we have become accustomed to seeing over the last 4 to 5 years. And we're waiting for it, and it just hasn't been happening. So, like, at some point, I understand the injuries. I understand the hangover and things like that. I just think this is who the Niners are. I don't think they're a very good team, and this sitting around waiting like, oh, they'll pick it up, they'll figure it out. I don't think they're going to figure it out. I think this team reminds me a lot, Mike, of that Eagles team kind of last year.
Yes.
Coming off the Super Bowl hangover, everything was going good. They had some injuries, and then the locker room just seemed to be dysfunctional. All of these kind of things have kind of played into it, where this camera is just.
I was thinking, it's like I'm
honestly not looking at it.
He's coming in to dock the boat.
This is worse.
That is.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
No, that looks like a caricature.
We'll just go with this.
Yeah, but at least it's not moving.
Yeah, I'm not moving. So, yeah,
I'm not leaving.
so I don't know. This Niners team, I'm just not sold on them being this fearful team that I thought they could have been before the season when you looked at the schedule and went, this is a scary team, Jenna.
This is the perfect example of it's not who you play, it's when you play them. Because I feel like going into this season, I'm like, ooh, Niners, it's going to be tough. And then it's where they're at this year. You mentioned the Super Bowl hangover, all those things. There's just so much seeming dysfunction sounds too strong, but at the same moment, it's just you see how cohesive this team has played in the past.
Yeah.
And you look at where they're at now, and it all looks off.
No question. And listen, Kyle Shanahan's a really good head coach, but the message he's won a ton of games. He's a very good coordinator. There's many comparisons you could make to Sean McDermott with the two of them. He's made it farther. He's gotten to the Super Bowl and lost.
Correct, Mike. And that's something that grinds my gears a little bit, with the sense of McDermott and Shanahan get viewed in different lights. That like Kyle Shanahan is this winner and this innovator and all these things. And that there's truth to that, because Kyle Shanahan has reinvented offensive football, and his DNA is over a lot of different systems in the NFL because of what he's been able to do. But when you talk about the knock on Sean McDermott, which I agree 100% is late game moments, all of those things, Kyle Shanahan is the king of being a part of blowing leads in the fourth quarter. Nobody has blown more leads. And while he doesn't get all of the 28-3 Super Bowl because he obviously wasn't the head coach, his offense was the one that stalled. His play calling helped the Patriots get back into that. So for as egregious as 13 seconds is, let's not give Kyle Shanahan a pass for some of those things. They have blown in the division, Mike, 4 double-digit fourth quarter leads this season. Nobody has blown more fourth quarter leads in their career since Kyle Shanahan became a head coach. So for everybody that puts Kyle Shanahan in this tier of top 5 guys or the second tier of coaches, to me, it's like, because I do know there are some Bills fans that would love to have Kyle Shanahan as their head coach, and they're just not fans of McDermott. And again, we've always agreed, if you want an offensive-minded head coach, that's completely different. I agree, and I'm not going to disagree with your views on what you want. But if you criticize coaches for late game moments and game management and fourth quarter blown leads, nobody's worse at it than Kyle Shanahan.
So a couple of things on that. I will say he's an innovative mind. It's his father's system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Mike Shanahan, and he's been very good following that. And he's had Mike Shanahan had a real tree of coaches behind him. And the mistakes he's made have been different. The 13 seconds game was such an epic game. And the way the Bills lost goes on the head coach. There's no question. But Shanahan, even in the Super Bowl, made very questionable decisions. I mean, think about it, though. His team scored first in the Super Bowl overtime and lost, right? He's found ways to lose. He is a talented coach. But I was getting more on the point that they've had a lot of veterans, a lot of the same guys. And I think the message, I won't say necessarily gets old, but in a season like this, it feels old.
Stale.
The Bills have revamped the roster. Niners haven't done that yet. I think that's coming because they still have a lot of talent, but it's coming. Where the Bills have had a lot of guys that haven't heard all of Sean's things as much, but they responded to it because they do have an influx of younger players that the Niners haven't had. But you are right about that, though. He is done just well enough to be immensely criticized for failing in big moments.
I do think too with the Bills, when you have results, it changes everything. When you're winning, it's the message doesn't seem as stale. But when you're losing, and you're losing in the way in which they had, by blowing big leads or by just falling apart, it makes it very different of saying the same thing over and over again. You're like, okay, that like this clearly is not connecting. So
I also don't judge a coach as much when everything is going right as to when everything's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So perfect example is last year, the Bills squabbling. We talked about how they were dysfunction, Von Miller, Sean McDermott's 9/11 comments, all of those things. Like, it was bad. What did the team do? They rallied. What is Kyle Shanahan? I get it. I'm not trying to I will give them a pass, just like I give Mike McDaniel this year. They've just had a snake bit season of injuries with the Dolphins. They have shown that when Tua is healthy, the Dolphins are a very, very good team. They've just kind of had one of those seasons of just hell and bad luck. Kyle Shanahan, like, this is a defining moment of like, when you don't have what you want, can you still keep the ship afloat and not have it go down in terrible flames? So when things are good, like Mike, Eagles are a prime example. When everything's going well, Sirianni looks great. When things are going bad, how do you look as a head coach? That's the big thing I judge a head coach on.
Yeah, dealing in crisis. Sean, that was as close to crisis as I think he's been as a head coach.
I would agree.
Going all the way back to playing Nate Peterman as a rookie head coach, and the team rallied behind him. But in this case, last year was bad. I mean, all of that was bad. That was the lowest of the low in terms of during a season for McDermott. And let's be honest, I mean, since he's had Josh Allen, they haven't lost more than 2 games in a row, which is incredible. And then they go on these runs. So all that being said, they still come into Orchard Park thinking we can win this game. If Purdy is able to play, they're a much better team. The one thing I would have to say about them is, like, you have Allen, number 17, playing for the
Brandon Allen.
Niners. Yeah, he hadn't played in 3 years. Like, I don't get what they're thinking sometimes with backup quarterbacks and the way they run their team. They ran into that problem in the playoffs a few years ago when they lost to the Eagles, and then they whined about it forever. The 40 whiners. I love getting that shot in, but they do. They whined about it. But your backup quarterback, he's playing in the game last week, and they're like, he hasn't played in 3 years. I mean, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Good news at practice. Matt Milano, he's gone from, the practice window being opened up to being in a red non-contact jersey today, in a regular jersey, flying around. Now, McDermott wouldn't comment about whether he will be back in the lineup. He did kind of mention today, Dan, that the expectation is essentially to do a pitch count, get in some reps, but not have him be like the full-time guy when he gets back. But do you expect him to play, Mike?
Yeah.
I do too.
Every player said, well, whether he plays this week or in the future, he's a full participant in practice, which you would have thought because they've been waiting to get him up there. And then you look at him, and I know it's just practice, but like, that dude wants to be on the field. And if you're going to do a pitch count, put him out there. Put him out there. And I think he does. I'd be very surprised if he was ruled out. I mean, they would have to say, like, there's some particular reason they would rather him start in another week. Hey, Dan, they opened up the window before the bye week.
Yeah.
To me, this just seems like I won't say ideal. Ideal would have been he never got hurt. But the ideal way to come back off the bye, him getting his work in, and then practicing with the team, and then playing at home back against the Niners.
Yeah, this feels like a classic McDermott being like, we'll see, but we all kind of know, and the team maybe even probably knows, like, he doesn't have to show his hand that Milano will be back. And again, you'll have packages, you'll have plays, you'll have situations that you definitely want to get Milano on the field, but it is kind of the luxury, like we talked about in the previous pod and on the You Ask, We Answer, segment too on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, of like, they're in good shape. And I think a lot of these guys that are coming back will be on pitch counts, but I think that's still better than what the linebacker situation was, the defensive line situation was. But the fact that Milano was not in a red non-contact jersey on Wednesday just seemed to be like the telltale sign that he'll be back.
Yeah. I think for the team too, it's just like, okay, he's getting another step closer. And we kind of started the pod with feeling like this team is like getting all these players back. Dwayne Carter, the Bills opening up his practice window.
Yeah.
That's another positive for this team. And I think it's actually great timing because where they're at in the season, you mentioned them being at home, but also just like there's still regular season games left where you feel like you can have that ramp up period with them playing in games and then have them kind of right at the sweet spot when the playoffs do start. And I did want to say, speaking of the sweet spot, like the game on Sunday will be December 1st. And this team has been phenomenal in December.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you feel like it's just the progression of the season, Mike, or how do you think this team is able to kind of continue to ratchet things up in the way teams are supposed to before the playoffs?
I think because they're well coached and have a great culture.
Yeah.
And it's like in the games themselves. Teams that are the best teams adapt. and they adapt to who they have. They adapt to the way the year goes on, and the way this league is now. September is a bit of the preseason. Even though you look back on those games, it almost feels like a different year, even though they were fine in the beginning. They up and down a little bit, but it feels like a different team. This coaching staff, and even obviously the previous coaching staffs under McDermott and Bean, they've been really good. And they adapt. They adapt to their personnel, and they have found a way. Now, last year, it took firing the OC and making a change, which played greatly into them going on the run. But we've talked about the numbers, these 2-game losing streaks that they have, and then they dominate. After the Hail Murray, they won every regular season game. Like, this team is great, really, November and December most of the time. And I know comments, what about the playoffs? What about the playoffs? Yeah, well, it's a different world in the playoffs. So they've been good, not great. Great teams make it to the Super Bowl. But I think that's what it is, Dan.
Yeah, it's also some luck that goes into it. The Bills seem to have had some of their injuries, some of their suspensions, even you could say, have gotten out kind of out of the way. And that's why, again, it feels like the bye week's coming at a right time where rookies, there is that rookie wall, but they always talk about at this point of the season, they're no longer rookies. Ray Davis, Keon Coleman, those guys have had enough reps where you feel comfortable enough that they are going to ready to make an impact. And the training wheels kind of come off, and Sean always talks about it. You want to be playing your best football this time of the year. And a lot of the time, Sean McDermott led teams, these Bills teams have been playing their best when the weather's gotten colder.
Yeah. Weather might be a factor on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, the Bills talk about being very well prepared. I mean, obviously in Orchard Park, they're aware, they know what things are like, but that is something I'm curious what that will do for the Niners, because if Brock Purdy's shoulder is bothering him and he's already coming into this game and they're like, oh, he could be questionable. And then just thinking about playing in a cold Orchard Park game with the snow going, I'm like, if I'm the Niners, I'm like out. Immediately out.
Well, a big one is Trent Williams too.
Yeah.
He is a monster. He is a tremendous first ballot Hall of Fame tackle. When he's not on the field, they are just a different team.
I saw something on social media that he was riding around in a scooter today around the locker room because it even hurts for him to walk. And that guy is a warrior. So,
and we don't even know about Bosa. Again, we may know more about Bosa as you're watching this. You may be or listening to it on Friday or Saturday leading up to it. We may know more. But Bosa is a game-wrecking player. Yeah. And they didn't have him last week. I mean, they got handled by Green Bay in that. The reason I say is they're not done because of the way that division is, which is wild. Like, I think it's all 5-6, 6-5. Like, they're all bunched together.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a run from them. And maybe that run for them starts the next week because of all the injuries, and they get everybody or get some of those guys back.
George Kittle did talk this week, and he said, like, I am still optimistic. Like, this team does have all the pieces, and he's a leader on this team, and he's a star on this team, and I expect him to say that. But I do feel like the vibe is just, it's different coming into Buffalo.
And we haven't really even talked about McCaffrey that much, but like, he is an incredible player when healthy.
Yeah.
And he's not healthy. I mean, he's at the moment, he doesn't have the burst. He hasn't scored a touchdown, I think, since he's been back. And the guy just piled up touchdowns. What did he go, 17 straight games with a touchdown?
A fumble.
He fumbled. That dude doesn't fumble either. Like, he's a machine, and he's not the same. So, that takes away, even with the other guys. McCaffrey was the guy who really put this offense over the top. But he's going to play, and Debo's going to play, and Kittle's going to play. So it's not like you just roll the ball out there and you get a win.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bills, because you look at this and you say, you don't want it to go the other way. You go out there Sunday, get knocked off. Now you're at the Rams going, okay, because the next week you're at Detroit. Like, things can turn around quickly if you aren't focused. Bills are usually focused. I'm not going down a 3-game losing streak. I'm just saying this is a very winnable game, but you still got to go out there and play well to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And McDermott is what, 7-0 off a bye?
Yeah.
In his career?
Yeah. His team is pretty good, but
good coaches with extra time are usually pretty dangerous and usually have their teams in good position. So
you learn that from the fat man because
yep.
It's all right to say, right? Andy. I mean,
So
Andy's
eloquent.
great out of a bye. He's always been great.
And Jenna, to your point, the weather is a lake effect snow band is starting to set in for those people that are not in Western New York that are listening. Lake effect snow band is supposed to set in somewhere over Western New York Friday, Saturday into Sunday. They're expecting 15 to 30, or somewhere in that range, maybe around the 2 feet range. They talked, I know the county executive talked that hey, if it's 3 feet over a weekend, that's no problem. They can handle that. If it's 3 feet in a day, which you never know with lake effect snow, could be a problem. McDermott said that, they don't control the weather. They're just trying to get ready for a football game.
The hope is that it stays south of Orchard Park.
Yeah.
That's
what we were talking about today in Buffalo.
Yeah.
The expectation is for it to stay south, but also with lake effect snow.
It's
If
wild.
it is snowing 3 feet in a day,
Crazier things have happened in Orchard Park.
Oh, I know. That's why. It's
people who don't know, even if you follow the bills, like you see about the snow, it literally could be 2 feet, 3 feet, 10 minutes from the stadium.
Yes.
And 6 inches at the stadium. It's nonsensical.
Yeah.
What goes on? I know there's science behind it, but Dan, science, right?
Science.
Right.
I guess you should say on here, we're not meteorologists, not doctors, not meteorologists.
Yes. Not in the building.
Not in the building.
Okay. I'm trying to think anything else.
MVP talk.
Oh, yes. Let's get into it. Dan, has your MVP thoughts changed?
No, it's comical. It's like we joked around about, I know there were some comments after the You Ask, We Answer about the recency bias of defensive and offensive coordinators under Sean McDermott, things like that. Everybody has their own opinion. But Saquon deserves to be in the MVP conversation, what he has done with the Eagles and all of those things. Lamar is not in the conversation. And it's getting I guess I'm a little bit annoyed that Lamar and Mahomes are in the conversation. I get Mahomes just because of the name, and the Chiefs are 9-1. Goff isn't in that conversation, and his teams are 9-1. And I think Goff has been better at moments, and the offensive numbers that the Lions have put up.
Goff has just been flat out better than Mahomes this year.
Right. Yeah. But he's not even whispered in the conversation, and it's still Lamar and Mahomes and Saquon, like things like that. You have to have, your team has to be really good. Otherwise, Joe Burrow would probably win the award for how good he has been with the Bengals. Like his numbers are crazy. But we have seen what this award has turned into is the quarterback of the top seed. So whether that
one of the best seeds, the thing I would say is I think Lamar's been much better than he was last year.
Isn't that ironic? Yeah.
And he won last year.
Yeah.
So the people, I was watching one of the 4-letter networks, I don't like to name them, but it would be called ESPN. And they were talking about it, and they were like, Lamar, how do you not have Lamar there? And I'm thinking, do you realize what last year was? Where Josh Allen had a much better statistical year than Lamar. By the way, ended up as the 2 seed by the end of the year when most of the votes had already been figured out. And he did not win. And it was Lamar won, to Dan's point. Best player, quarterback on the 1 seed. And he won it. Josh is going to be the 1 or the 2 seed this year. He's been great all year. He's had big moments. They've won because of him.
Yeah.
And he's carried a team that most people did not think were going to be at this level.
This is because the NFL and NFL media people have the attention span of a gnat.
Yes.
Because it's whatever is flashy and whatever happens next, like, oh, that's the MVP. Oh, that's the MVP. When you do take a step back, I agree. Saquon, absolutely in that conversation. He has done a hell of a lot when people did not expect him to be that guy and what he has been able to do. And then you look at Lamar and you say, yeah, his numbers are better, but you look at the body of work that Josh has put together for the season. And Jared Goff, a great example, Dan, of how sometimes when the narrative is not surrounding a player, it's interesting how it will just completely go to someone else. It's Mahomes because of the name and the star power. It's Lamar because of the name and the star power. But there are other guys that are more qualified, in my opinion, at this point in the season when you look at what they've been able to do so far.
And you know why, to me, Josh is the clear number 1? Is because of the surrounding cast that he has compared to the other guys.
Yes.
That, to me, drives me nuts, because I always think about it at times, and I know that's not what the award is. Like, I'm not naive to that fact of it, but it really should be part of the conversation of, if you take this player off this team, what are they? Like, if you want to say it should be Joe Burrow, I can't really disagree with you besides the record. But the Bengals are probably a 3-win team without Joe Burrow, like, because of, but he has Jamar Chase. And then I look at Lamar Jackson, I go, he's got Derrick Henry, and he's got all these weapons around him. And then I look at what Jared Goff has. Saquon, you and me could probably rush, Mike, for about 150 yards in a season over with that Eagles offensive line. So I look at what Josh was.
AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, and you look at Derrick Henry, who is right there with Saquon, close with the numbers as a running back, and he's on the team. I hate I don't disparage Lamar. I think Lamar is a great, great player and a winner, even though he hasn't won big, because I think you got to be fair. The things Josh hasn't done, even though we think Josh has certainly been better in the playoffs, Lamar's been a great, great regular season player. He's had a great year. But to your point, this year they got him Derrick Henry. Their offense in a total is probably more versatile and better. He got it last year because they ended up as the 1 seed with a better defense and the numbers. I think this is if you want to vote on narrative, Josh has the narrative this year. There's no question.
I would be genuinely curious if you asked a casual NFL fan, not a Bills fan, if they could name the Bills wide receivers, how many they would get.
I think this year they would get Shakir, and then they'd struggle. Especially if you play fantasy, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how much Shakir would get.
I don't think Shakir would get that many. He should.
I mean, if you follow the NFL, like if you play any fantasy football and all, but I mean, beyond that, there's nobody. I mean, now Amari Cooper.
You would say Kincaid. I feel like you would say Kincaid.
The casual football fan wouldn't know really any of these guys. The people that know the game, understand the insides and outs, have Khalil as probably one of the top 10 best wide receivers because of what his impact is. But his stats won't say it. Shakir's probably not going to make the Pro Bowl, even though his impact is Pro Bowl worthy.
Yes.
But you're playing the name game with other guys that are putting up bigger numbers and have more of a resume in their career. And because Shakir is going to have 80 something catches and 900 yards, it's not going to pop and be like, oh, this is, Shakir's not winning you any fantasy games. No. He is winning the Bills games. He's not winning you fantasy games.
But that's exactly my point of like,
right. I agree.
Around other guys is apparent to even casual fans.
Yes.
Whereas it has to be a little bit more nuanced for you to know some of the bigger named guys on Buffalo, because they are not the bigger named guys in the league other than Josh.
Right. Amari Cooper's the biggest name wide receiver.
Yeah,
and he's been very limited.
Yeah.
He could be more and more, but we're talking about at the moment. Now, look, you have this week, Josh has got another national TV game, which always helps. And Saquon against Lamar going in that one. This is just the way this world works, but it's probably going to be some sort of an elimination there, just the way it goes. If one of them has a great game, the other one.
That's true.
Actually, the funny thing from the Ravens is it's 2 guys, because I think Derrick Henry is, an elite player too. So I think Josh is in great shape to do it. If the team keeps winning, especially these big games like national TV, I think he will bring the voters along with him.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say one more thing on Lamar?
Yeah.
Because I watched that entire Sunday night game, and my thoughts on Lamar didn't change at all. Like, Lamar is still as dynamic as they come. He is still a great player in every sense. And I understand why he's got the MVP awards, all of those things. But I remember I said on this channel, better pure passer is Geno Smith when they played the Seahawks. And I know what Geno has regressed to a little bit, and they're dealing with an offensive line that can't do anything. Lamar is still every time the ball is snapped, if I'm a defense, if I'm a fan of the opposing team, my heart's in my chest. I'm just so nervous about how he can beat you and how dynamic he can be. And then when he throws the football, I kind of exhale. Now, again, he can still dot a ball to Bateman. That was still unbelievable. But his touchdown pass to Andrews, and I talked to a friend of mine who knows football and Carl, who played at Syracuse and works for WIVB, like that ball needs to be on the back shoulder. He throws it into the defender. Andrews makes a great catch. And it's like, what a great read by Lamar. Like, I still like pure passer, putting the ball where it needs to be, ball placement, all of those things. I still don't think Lamar's in the top half of the league. That's not to say that he can't make an elite throw, but it's almost, for lack of a better term, it feels like by accident. Like
now I push back on one thing. I'm watching the Rams and the Eagles game on Sunday night. No one throws the ball better than Matthew Stafford.
Pretty spiral.
He doesn't scare me.
Matthew Stafford?
No.
Both things can be true.
Because what Lamar does, he puts himself in a position to make sometimes kind of a shitty pass that still ends up as a touchdown because he's so his dynamic. Yes. Sometimes it's like, I did love his touchdown run when he sort of just stopped, let the guy go by,
that was good.
and he walked in the end
Did
zone.
that in high school.
He is that. So you're right as far as pure thrower, which probably is what hurts him in big moments in the biggest of big games. But he is still dynamic as a player, and I don't begrudge him that. I'm just looking at it strictly when we talk about this vote. Josh now has the better record. I know he lost to him earlier in the year, but that's head-to-head in what, September? Yeah. We're talking about better record, going to be a division winner, one of the top seeds, and great numbers.
I'm not saying he's Daniel Jones throwing the football. Like, I just want to clarify that. I'm not saying, but
a Viking Daniel Jones. Yes.
But
yes,
when I see some of these throws, and it was pointed out to me too, which makes a lot of sense. Lamar used to be one of the worst passers against the blitz. Last year, he was like second to last.
Yeah.
This year, he is second best against the blitz. So he is having a more of an understanding of that was kind of how you beat him. That was how the Chiefs beat him in the playoffs. Like, you just blitz the crap out of him. He's kind of confused and doesn't know exactly what to do. But it almost, it's easier said than done. It's like, hey, why don't you cover Kelsey? Like that kind of dumb statement that gets said. But it's like, if you could rush 3, keep Lamar in the pocket and make him throw. I know you can't cover for 9 seconds, but it just feels like some of these throws, like he's got guys open and overthrows them like EJ at training camp. Like he will sail some balls that you're like, that was a bad throw in a clean pocket. So it's just, I was trying to explain it to Carl, and I said, to me, it's like a dart player. Like we play darts in college, right? You get a couple beers in you, it's like, oh, I can hit what I'm trying to aim for. But then if you tell me you got to hit a bullseye, it might take me 30 minutes to hit a bullseye because it's almost an accident that I hit a bullseye. You look at someone like Stafford can throw bullseyes after bullseyes after bullseyes into tight areas. Josh has shown he has the ability to have touch on his throws now. He can fit the ball into tight windows. All of those things. Lamar, to me, it almost feels like sometimes when he throws those perfect passes, it's almost by accident.
Yeah. It's just he's different. He's an
100%
incredible playmaker, though.
Yeah.
That's why when we talked about the MVP, who's a better quarterback? It's Josh Allen. But Lamar is a dynamic player. But all that being said, so is Josh Allen. Yeah. Better numbers, better spot. That's why I just think they got to be fair, the voters, because I hear about some of these guys voting. But Jenna's right. Shiny object. Let's see what happens this week and the next week.
It's
Josh
literally the meme of like the woman, the guy looking back and the woman looking at her boyfriend. And it's like whoever had the best game.
Yep. Whoever turns their head this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Men. It's always our fault.
No, it's just the example.
Yes.
But yeah.
But yes.
Hey, just so you guys know, the dose makes the poison.
Oh my God.
Picks.
Okay, wait. I wanted to talk about the Ray Davis interview.
Oh yeah.
So a couple weeks ago,
mm-hmm.
It was more than a couple weeks ago, but that's because it took me a while to put together the story, but sat down, did an interview with Ray Davis, and Bill's first-year running back, played at 3 different colleges, went to multiple high schools, and he had just such an incredible story of his life. And so we wanted to show you the story because it's one of patience and perseverance and a special person who changed his life forever. Excuse me. I think you'll enjoy it. Here's the story. Ray Davis has always searched for a place to call home.
The Buffalo Bills select Ray Davis, running back, Kentucky.
I didn't live a child's life. I lived a grown man's life.
Born in San Francisco, there were many nights Davis did not know where he would be sleeping.
It was the hardest time of my life. When there's no consistency, when there's no stable home, when there's nobody to tell you that they love you.
Yeah, Davis was in and out of homeless shelters and foster care. One of 14 kids, his parents struggled to support the family. So Davis took on that role, dropping his younger sister at school, taking care of his baby brother.
I wouldn't be who I am today without those journeys, without going from 7 different homes, from living with different families, from sleeping on floors, sleeping on couches.
But when he needed a refuge, that's where he found sports.
Football was my escape. Like I said, it was my escape from the reality of what I was going through. It was 2 hours of practice every day that I got to get away from being homeless, being a foster care child, sleeping on floors. It was the one time where I felt like this and everybody held me at the top of the world. But as soon as I walked away from that practice, I was back to this and nobody would know.
That was until after a game, Davis's life changed forever when he got a ride with a teammate and their family.
Laura Banks is who I call my mom. She took me in at the age of 16 and that's who I had my long drive with back from Santa Barbara back to California. And she asked me about almost, I want to say close to 1,000 questions, and she learned who I was. And from that day on, it became a bond that became unbreakable.
Yeah, Laura Banks saw a struggling child and took him in, and she has been there ever since.
It's crazy because, she was there for the high school games and the college games.
Play, this is Davis across midfield.
And now that journey has taken them here to the NFL.
I haven't really accepted the fact that I'm here. I haven't accepted the fact that I'm in the league or I'm in that. Nothing seems real still.
Yeah, Davis is considered one of the oldest rookies, but he has lived a lot of life in 24 years. And he is making the most of this dream, one he's held on to since those sleepless nights in California.
I get to go out there every Sunday or Monday or Thursday and play the game that I love and get to have fun. I want them to know that I'm a guy who's never gonna give up. I've been through too much to give up. I've been too much to be upset and sad and mope.
Yeah, from his childhood, he has been searching to feel like he is home. And now Ray Davis has exactly that.
I want people to understand I don't do this for me. If this were to go away all tomorrow, I just hope that my legacy and my story was able to help somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, he is an incredible guy with an incredible story behind him, and he's already been helping out in the community. He won the NFL MVP Community Award for helping out with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, a program that he himself was in when he was growing up. So already making a huge impact off of the field and also contributing on as well.
He got me the most when he did I felt up here and then I was back down here. Dan, I want to congratulate you. We did a great job on that story. You and I did.
Yeah, I definitely got some help. Also want to give a shout out, Brian Swerda, who edited the piece. He did you watch it. Yeah. He did an amazing job. So thank you to him. And also thank you to Ray, because he was super gracious with his time. And and
he really liked the story.
He did, which always, for this job, real quick, inside baseball, but it's a little intimidating putting together someone's life story because you want to do it well. You want to give it the respect that it deserves. So
you did that. And I'm joking when I said Dan and I, we had minor little words.
Absolutely helps.
Yes, very little. It was Jenna's story. Great job.
No, and it's Ray's story. Yes, honestly.
You told his story well.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it at the end. You have that soundbite in the beginning of him saying, I didn't live a child's life. I lived a grown man's life. That you're like, whoa. Yeah. And he has, I wouldn't blame Ray Davis to be angry and upset and
1,000%. Yeah.
you know, walk around like the world's against him, and to come out on the other side of him being like, I have no reason to be sad or upset or mope. Like
Yeah.
I get to do this. Like that's, you always talk about like people always, and Ray obviously credited his mom or his, you know, he calls his mom, but like you always talk about people that like helped you along the way. Like I remember doing the Josh Allen story, and it was the OC at Reedley Community College, the only guy that recruited him, like things like that. Like, but it's crazy when you only have like one person that believes in you, and to see what that does for somebody and how far it can take them is pretty special. And I love Ray. He was like, I'm not, don't feel sorry for me. Like I'm great. This helped make me who I am. So I loved it.
And
great job.
He's a really good player too.
Yeah.
So he has contributed a lot as a rookie.
It's not just a nice story.
Yep.
It's someone that's actually been really good in where he's been at. So yeah, I feel like a lot of fans will be rooting for him extra hard.
That's great.
Fred Jackson vibes.
Yes. I was thinking that watching
play on
him,
the field, right?
Yeah. It just plays like him. Fred's a great dude. Now Fred's son's a really good player too. Fred was a great Buffalo Bill. Great player. I think he does have some similarities.
I could
Fred's
see that.
a little taller, but Ray can really play. All right, let's do picks on the games and then a quick credit to me.
Okay. Dan, you want to start with picks?
Yeah, I like this Bills. They've scored 30+ points in every single home game. I expect them to get 30 again. I see this game being like 30-17. I think the Bills win handily. Same thing?
Yeah, I already put in my graphic, but yeah.
30.
Yeah,
I have a similar score. It's slightly closer. I had, for some reason, an odd number, 29-20. Bills win it in control, maybe closer in the first half. San Francisco's been a bad second half team. The Bills have been one of, if not the best. So, yeah, I'm with you on
Do you
that.
think Purdy plays?
Well, again, this is Wednesday. Saying that he wasn't throwing, and just the idea of, when it's that kind of injury, I'll say yes because they're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
But if he does, I don't know how effective he's going to be for them. So
yeah, I hear you.
I don't think he plays.
I don't know because like they are in the division hunt.
Yeah,
and they're like even being 5-6, it's like
they still have division games. Hey, you know what? I may change my mind that he's not going to play because that idea of him not throwing on Wednesday, coming off of where they thought he was going to play last week, and then they shut him down.
They also said this with like McCaffrey, like, oh, he'll be fine, and then he ends up going to Germany for
right. But McCaffrey, but Purdy was like, he's playing, and then they were like, no.
This might be one of those injuries where it does more harm by playing.
Yeah.
And they got other games down the stretch, so I'll say no.
Okay, all right, let's do credit to me.
My wife.
My
wife.
Yeah. Like I said, we talked about in the beginning. It'll probably be my credit to me for the next 2 months will be credit to my wife. She's upstairs with the 2 girls right now. I've been helping out a lot more around the house, just being home more. The Bills bye week was a great time to kind of be home. Credit to you guys for helping me out. Renee was telling me this last night, just being like, it's been so nice having you around. The Bills bye week helped, but also having great people that I work with that I consider family constantly checking in on me has been, so credit to you guys as well. And I'm sure by next week, we're scheduled for a possible induction on Saturday. I didn't know there was like a ticket line to get induced apparently at hospitals.
Yeah.
So we're like, it's like a deli ticket. So we're like maybe 5 or 6 on the list. So we need other people to naturally go into labor so that we can get in.
Yes. I'll have 7 pounds of a baby girl.
Again, everybody's healthy. If there was a reason to induce earlier, we would have that, but mom and baby are healthy. Mom is just
most important.
Very over being pregnant, which I totally understand. Actually, I don't, but I can sympathize. My wife's a hero. She's upstairs with the 2 kids right now. So, And then I'm sure over the next few weeks, it'll still be credit to my wife and then credit to the nurses and doctors and everybody that will help out along the way. So appreciate some of the kind words. I know a lot of people have been messaging me saying, congratulations. We're not there yet. I have just been terrified to be more than 20 minutes away from home or her at any moment because bags are packed. We're just kind of in the waiting game.
Yeah. Oh my God. I feel bad. All of us texting be like, so
So
any updates?
what's going on?
I know.
Or if I miss a text and you guys are like, "Hey, what's going on?" and then the
In
next
my mind, you're at the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, when you don't text me back, because Dan texts very fast back, I'm always like, oh my God, it's happening. And then it
it
has.
was like, "No, just giving the girls baths." And you're like, "Oh, just kidding." You're like, "Oh, just making dinner."
Yeah.
I was very excited. All right. You want to do your credit to me?
Mine is football related. And I'm going to say this, and Dan cannot say a word for 30, 40 seconds. Okay. Credit to me. I was right about CJ Stroud.
Boo.
I can't say anything. Here's what I was right about. He's still a really good player. But what do we say about the NFL? You're either humble or about to be humbled. Put himself in the top 5. A lot of people around him talked about where he was coming into year number 2. He's still really good. But I saw somebody tweeted he misses Stephon Diggs more than Josh Allen ever did, which is funny. Dan Orlovsky should thank him for running out of the back of the end zone. You know, he did the thing with, I just think he was a little ahead of where he's going to be. I still think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. I think he has that ability.
Do you really?
Yes. I just did not think it should be that fast. He's going to need it. He's taking a little step back. His team has taken a step back. They're blaming the OC, which maybe that's the problem, but that guy was the right guy year 1, not the right guy year 2. My only thought was you do not crown the guy. I mean, heck, they tried to do it with Daniels 8 games into his rookie year. And then teams start to figure him out. Those guys both have immense talent and I believe another gear, but I think he's had to take a step back. He's really good. He's not top 5. Right now, he's probably on the edge of 10 below.
Yeah.
He's okay. He's okay. He's a good player. Not great.
Okay. You see the flashes. I get it. I mean, I agreed with you that I would get frustrated because did a lot of podcast talk in the off season.
Yeah.
And like you said, the
Put
NFL
himself in the top 5 quarterbacks.
I mean, look, I want every quarterback to be confident. Like to play in the league, you have to have a chip on your shoulder. But
did we lose him?
that noises.
Goodbye, Dan. Oh.
I was just moving my microphone. Sorry.
Oh. Yes. You have to be confident, but you also have to be self-aware. Caleb Williams,
self-aware.
You know that on the field, it came across a little preachy. What did you say? Little bro in him?
He little broed him. Yeah. I just didn't like that. Like
it's a little early in the game to be the expert on it.
Yeah. Self-awareness is important.
Yes.
A lot of people.
So now, Dan, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're doing the exact opposite of what everybody did. Like everybody loved him, you didn't, and now you're trying to take a victory lap and dunk on all the people that crowned him early. When you
first of all, Dan, this is a play from your playbook.
Yes,
like kettle black.
Yes,
like this is.
But I just did not like the early crowning. Give the guy, let's see him play, not play 16 games Sunday at 1:00 when everybody thought they stunk. Now, when everybody thinks you're good, by the way, he did a lot to get the Bills back into that game, even though they were playing lousy in that
poor
game.
Offensive line, had injuries. It's also a snake bitten season.
Okay. It's fine. I was
What's
right.
that? I think Laramie Tunsil just got another penalty. Okay.
Yeah. But still, it's hard. It's hard when you appointed yourself top 5 and your team is struggling.
Yeah.
And that's what. And let's be real. In the NFL, especially with quarterbacks, the goalposts are always being moved back.
Well, I will say for the goalpost being moved, as long as CJ realizes it's right behind him when you run out of the end zone.
Michael. Wow. Okay. All right. My credit to me is based off of actually self-awareness. So it's in Trader Joe's Thanksgiving week. The situational awareness at grocery stores during Thanksgiving week is criminal. It is people in the middle of the aisle trying to, I get it. You don't know exactly what you're looking for, but it's like a football game. You got to have a game plan. You got to know where you're going. What are you doing? You got to anticipate. You got to hit the hole when you see it. Trader Joe's was it was insane. Game plan, anticipation, and making moves. And I did not see a lot of that this week.
Did you express your frustration at anybody?
No, because I just like bottle up inside because that's what you're supposed to do.
By the way, I had a moment in a grocery store that was the craziest thing. So it's not a grocery store. Do you guys know Leo's Bakery and Deli?
Oh,
in
yeah.
Rochester?
Very good. Yeah.
Great place. So I go over there. I'm helping Jenny.
Is that
Credit
Italian?
to me. Yes. Credit to me. And I'm in the bread line because she wanted me to get sourdough bread.
Oh,
So I'm standing there
phenomenal pick.
looking for the sourdough, which wasn't out yet, which was fine. And they bring the long loaves of like French bread, hot French bread coming right out of the oven. Me not realizing that there were all these people waiting for the bread to come out.
Oh.
So I'm just seriously, innocently walking in the aisle because I had no idea. And they're setting the bread down, and all the people that Jenna's
that are
talking about
self-aware
are attacking the shelf.
Oh,
it's like
wow.
I'm in the middle of it, and they're all like, and I'm like, phew, I just grabbed one because I figured I got lucky. I was there.
Yeah,
By
might
the
as
way,
well.
so good.
I mean, yeah,
It was
it's
so
phenomenal
good.
bread.
Yeah.
It's just,
But imagine during Thanksgiving. Well, now it's Thanksgiving. Whew, it's
yeah,
gonna get ugly.
there should be classes.
You want to teach them?
Situational awareness classes for grocery stores, for driving in
Oh
the
my
left
God.
lane.
This is old man
I
takes.
know,
I
but
have
it's
done my
true.
job. They have old
And look,
man
some
takes.
people, if you have young kids, I get it. Like, I'm not, there's reasons and there's excuses. Some people, they
Yeah.
have reasons. Other people,
Honestly, I think most people with little
Excuses.
kids are very aware because they're constantly having to corral their kids
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
know what's going on.
I'm just
But-
constantly apologizing. Just
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Two kids running around, just like sorry.
Does Shane ever apologize to you about you?
No.
She never says, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but-
Because Shane's also bringing a doll, a backpack, 6 other things, walking
Yeah.
through the store, and as Ryan is just running into oncoming carts. And she's like 2 feet tall, so like somebody pushing a cart, I don't even blame them to be like,
Don't worry. It'll get better when you have a third.
what is the Jim Gaffigan is so good because he has a large family, the
Yeah.
comedian. What's it like having 6 kids? It's like, picture you're drowning and then someone hands you a baby. I mean, okay, you're one of what? 4?
5.
5. I'm one of 3. Dan, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be
yeah, 1 and 2. But yeah, we'll figure this out.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's wrap up here. This is a long podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. For Dan Fates, who's at home on Baby Watch 2024, Mike Catalana, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We appreciate it. We'll catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Oh, also, happy Thanksgiving,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes. Happy
Enjoy the
Thanksgiving.
holiday. And
Stay
if-
out of Jenna's way in the grocery store.
Stay out of my way and enjoy the gravy.